All right, we are moving on to interviewing agents, hiring an agent, and starting to look at houses. So at this point, we've hopefully have a budget and we know our goals and our wants and our needs, and it's time to go find a real estate agent. All right, you guys can Google questions to ask real estate agents. You guys, can come up with your process, but I'm gonna tell you, at the end of the day, finding a real estate agent that you feel comfortable with is the most important thing. The most important thing is not who your parents used or who your friends used or who your coworker used. It is interviewing somebody that you trust and you feel comfortable with, because a good real estate agent is going to have to tell you things that you don't want to hear. They're going to have to guide you through the process. It is an extremely emotional process. I'm not right for everybody. I am fairly blunt. I am fairly, matter of fact, maybe. Some people, Ben Gold, my real estate partner, is much calmer. He, my wife would much rather work with Ben than with me. It's just different personalities. That doesn't mean that I'm bad or Ben's bad or anybody like that is bad. We just want to find somebody who's right for you. Lots of times it's kind of a gut feeling, okay? Here's what I will tell you. There are real estate agents out there that have a ton of experience and are wonderful agents, and there's a real estate agents that have a ton of experience and they're terrible agents. And let's talk about number of deals per year or production stats or something like that. Some real estate agents close a ton of deals and they have a process, and in that process, you may work with 5 or 6 different people. You may work with them, a showing agent, to show you houses, and then maybe they write the offer, and then somebody else is going to negotiate the inspection process, and then you're going to have a closing agent, and then at the end the team lead may come back in and be at the closing table. Fine, as long as you know that's what you're going to get going into it and you're comfortable with it. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means you need to be comfortable with it. You may have an agent that's really, really busy and their response time isn't going to be what you want, or you want some education, you want some handholding. Excuse me. Just because an agent is producing a ton of transactions doesn't make them the right or the wrong agent. Same thing on experience. There may be a really experienced agent who's semi-retired and they're not as motivated to help you find that house as a brand new agent is, who is absolutely motivated, and they may not know as many answers, but darn, they're going to find them for you. And they want nothing more than to make it an absolutely wonderful experience for you. So, what I would tell you is that your gut feeling and your trust with that agent should be number one, and then it should be communication and education. Like, are they communicating? Are they getting back to you in a reasonable amount of time? That doesn't mean that I think a real estate agent needs to respond to you at 7:30 at night. If it's not a pressing issue, it's okay for it to be the next day. It doesn't mean that a text message needs to be answered in 30 seconds. I just don't think that is the level of communication. Now, if that's what you need, then make it known, because there'll be a lot of people that will try, and there'll be a lot of people that'll just say, no, that's not how I operate. So, interviewing a real estate agent, make sure you feel good. Realize that if you're buying a house with somebody else, you guys might have a different view of or a different gut feeling on who you want to work with. So then maybe you look for a team where there's 2 different agents that offset each other. Anyways, I would encourage you to reach out to some real estate agents, talk to them about, what is their process? How are they going to make sure you find a house that fits your needs? Who are you going to communicate with throughout the entire process? Understand their team or their process and see if it's a process that works for you. Okay. Once you've interviewed the agent, now it's time to hire the agent. Okay. In hiring the agent, this is where you're going to establish usually is an exclusive or kind of a working relationship with them. Make sure you understand how they communicate and how they're going to communicate with you and what the expectation should be. Also, understand that when you hire that real estate agent, your communication should go through that agent and that agent only, unless you're talking to somebody who's working with them, like a home inspector or a title company. But you don't want to be communicating with another real estate agent, and you don't want to be communicating with the seller of the house. It really can complicate things. Now, if your real estate agent knows you're communicating with them, then by all means do. And I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying you've got to have that communication. It's just sometimes the best of intentions can really set things back. And a classic example is if you see a house on the weekend that you want to go see, don't reach out to the listing agent. Reach out to your agent so that the listing agent knows your representative and knows who that is. There are some intricacies in this, and it is absolutely less confusing, less heartache, just to communicate with just your real estate agent. So once you hire that real estate agent, you want to work with them and you want to communicate with them so that there isn't any misunderstanding and so that they have your best interest at heart. Remember, if you reach out to that listing agent, their obligations are to the listing or the seller. They are not to you. Unless you have an agency relationship with them already, their obligations are to that seller. And we're going to talk about agency relationships in a different chapter. But at this point, now that you've hired your real estate agent, you really need to go over their agency disclosure or their buyer broker form. And we're going to do that here in the next chapter.